Has your school ever done something illegal? A teacher unalived one of the students twice. I moved school for 6th grade after my parents divorced, and on the first day, my English teacher, Mrs. Waters, called the girl beside me by the wrong name. Emma, she'd say, and Julia would raise her hand anyway. Well, the teacher was old, wore glasses, had terrible posture, so I just figured she got her name mixed up. But then I noticed something strange. She never got anyone else's name wrong. And during silent reading, I watched Mrs. Waters grade a blank paper with nothing written on it, her red pen moving across nothing, writing excellent work in the margins. I didn't have anyone to talk to about it. No one wanted to be friends with the girl in the wheelchair. But by Friday, I couldn't take it anymore. I had an itch that needed to be scratched. So during lunch, I went up to a table of kids that seemed friendly. Hey, so what's the deal with Mrs. Waters and this Emma girl? I asked casually, pretending not to care that much. Suddenly, everyone went silent. Oh great, I thought to myself, now everyone thinks I'm a freak. But the silence was soon broken by Julia herself. She didn't say anything, just got up to wheel me towards the janitor's closet. Usually I hated when people did that, but this time I didn't mind. And when we were out of earshot, she turned to face me. Did you hear about the SWAT team that came last year? When I nodded, she continued, that wasn't for a gas leak like everyone says. It was a school shooting. My heart dropped. What the F? Shush, she interrupted. It wasn't on the news because the school wanted to protect our identities, but Emma was the only one unalived, and she was Mrs. Waters' favorite student. Suddenly, it all made sense. Julia went on to tell me that Emma was her best friend, and people always said they looked like sisters. So now Mrs. Waters was lying to herself that Emma was still alive through Julia. Apparently, someone tried to tell a teacher before, but they told them to stop spreading childish rumors, and nothing was done. But we're not allowed to say anything to Mrs. Waters because it could cause a mental breakdown. Well, I knew my parents would believe me, but she made me pinky promise to never mention it again before wheeling me back to the canteen. And at first, I had every intention of keeping it. Even when Mrs. Waters set the classroom temperature to 68 degrees because Emma gets cold easily, or when she'd bring Julia, who's lactose intolerant, milkshakes during lunch because it was Emma's favorite. But soon things took a dark turn. I was sitting in class beside Julia when Mrs. Waters walked in with a girl I'd never seen before. She looked exactly like Julia, except longer hair and slightly taller. The whole classroom was tense. Nobody was saying anything, but everyone was thinking the same thing. A new Emma replacement. There were tears in the girl's eyes, and her knees trembled as she went to sit down. Mrs. Waters started teaching like usual, but no one was paying attention. We were all too busy staring at the girl who looked like she'd been kidnapped. Meanwhile, Mrs. Waters was smiling with a joy I'd never seen before. She looked like she had won the lottery. And finally, when she turned around to write something on the board, me and the girl locked eyes. She mouthed the words, "Help me." On her wrist were marks like someone had grabbed her. "What's your name?" I whispered. "Bella," she responded. That's when I finally snapped. I couldn't watch another girl get trapped in this sick fantasy. "Her name is Bella," I blurted, slamming my hands on my desk. "Not Emma. Emma is dead." And just as Bella stood up to run, Mrs. Waters barricaded the door with her chair. "No!" she exclaimed with tears streaming down her face. "I'm not letting you get away again." By this point, everyone had had enough, and everyone was helping Bella get out. When the police arrived and they handcuffed her, she was thrashing around like a caged animal. It took 3 officers to restrain her while she wailed, "No, please, I can't let Emma die again!" She yelled over and over. Luckily, the officers were well trained, and you could tell they put her into the patrol car as gently as possible. Bella was brought home to her dad, who had already gathered a search party to look for her. Turns out Mrs. Waters had snatched her while she was standing at the school bus. That evening when my parents came home, I was going to tell them everything that had been going on, but turns out they already knew, because as soon as they saw me, they started screaming at me for causing Mrs. Waters to be arrested. Full story on channel, link below.